was at first. Now I don't know anymore. You might have just pissed them off.
You know what? Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy.
What's up?
Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy. And on that note, I'm Pumpkin Jack, and I'm coming out of the Ghastly Hallows. I'm accompanied today by...
Here?
This is Red.
Oh, you didn't say it this week in the, well, we're going through the captains, right? Fucking Spock was never a captain of any of the Enterprises or any of the ships.
Spock, like in this... No, he was never a captain.
Yeah, on TV, I really do not want to go into the extended media of Star Trek, which is more vast and more expansive than any universe, Bible, or anything you could think of.
I mean, it's only the comic books that matter.
There's comic books, novels where Kirk was revived and went on 3 different adventures written by William Shatner himself. And then Leonard Nimoy. Well, let's just get started. So we've been gone for a few weeks, and at the end of the last episode, I kind of called out into the black beer and said Leonard Nimoy's name 5 times. So I just want to preface that by saying this: fuck you, Leonard Nimoy. You couldn't get me. No matter what you tried to do, no matter how much you tried to haunt me, you couldn't get me. That's right. After I was the only one that respected you when that fucking dress thing was going on, that's the day you died. I'm the first one to say, rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy, buddy. Forget that stupid fucking dress, which everybody thought was gold and white or black and blue. I'm over here doing that for you, and you decide to haunt me. Well, guess what? You couldn't get me. I watched too many horror movies. No good for you, fucking Leonard Nimoy. I only saw your one horror movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and you weren't even that great in it. So, may you have fun and rest in peace on the other side of the black mirror, Leonard Nimoy. Fuck you. And how have you guys been these past few days on our mini hiatus that we took?
You were talking with like the speed and agility of like the host of a 4 a.m. paranormal show. Was
because I was a part of a paranormal experience thanks to fucking Leonard Nimoy.
it was like profane coast to coast. It was beautiful.
It's coast to coast with Art Bell. In today's episode, we have the time traveler John Teeter coming here to talk to everybody. John Teeter, folks.
The trilogy is. The trilogy is Art Bell, George Norrie, and Pumpkin Jack.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Pumpkin Jack got stalked by one of the greats. How many people would actually die to be stalked by this guy? Billions. I got it. I even did a really fucking nice meme for him when that straight out of somewhere shit was going on. I'm over here and I do a nice one of him in a Buick, and it looked cool. And then what happens? Fucking Leonard Nimoy comes and haunts me. Bullshit. I was nice to you, Leonard Nimoy. Fucking Leonard Nimoy. Where have you guys been?
Maybe this will be the one episode that my wife listens to. However, she will stop and like as soon as the Leonard Nimoy tirade begins because she is a big fan.
I was a big fan of Leonard Nimoy until he haunted me. Just because I said his name into the Black Mirror 5 times. He should have come back and given me instructions how to get into Mensa. Teach my stupid brain something about science. No, he's like, I'm going to come and I'm going to leave you with a whole bunch of shoes. I can't even think straight. Fucking Leonard Nimoy still hanging around. Most illogical. Damn straight. See that? He's talking through me now.
Oh no, shit. Jack, what's happening to your ears? Oh dear Lord.
No.
Pardon us for Pumpkin Jack's episode, but yeah, as you can tell, he's been itching to get back into the swing of things, understandably so, to a degree.
Very understandably so. Fucking, I'm sorry. It just sucks when you get haunted by someone that you thought was a friend. Yeah.
Yeah, you get used to it.
You don't know what it's like until it happens to you.
Yeah. It's funny when other people get haunted, not when you get haunted.
Oh, what is this podcast other than being entertained by other people being haunted? It's just
Yeah, it's funny when it happens. It's one of those things. It's not funny. It's funny until it happens to you.
right. Yeah, it's a comedy, but when it gets too close, it becomes a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
Being a tragedy. I
but
don't know why Instagram doesn't allow me to just share things if I'm using both accounts at the same time. It's supposed to be simple. Why is it so difficult? What am I doing wrong?
what you're doing wrong, sir, is
Do better, Instagram.
you still think Leonard Nimoy is our friend, even though
Okay. First of all, I never said he was a friend. I just said that he could have been expressing his thanks to you for being the only one that actually cared about him during a time where people couldn't see a dress for being a dress.
Not a friend, but an ally.
That's a little bit too much.
matter of fact, what was it? That's the one dude from Star Trek I actually really, really, really did want to meet. Like, there's been a dozen people on those Star Trek shows over the years. That's the one guy I was actually curious just to go sit in on a lecture of his for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he also directed 2 of the movies.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
that
he was a
was
smart guy, you know.
he didn't get
But
that many directing credits, right? That was it. It was one of those.
yeah, I'm not sure.
So we felt here at the Ghastly Hallows that we were glossing over Candyman 2021 and not doing it its proper justice by squeezing it in the last few seconds of the last podcast. Leonard Nimoy thought he was going to keep us away from this one. No, he's not. We intend to dissect the second half. In my book, this is really only a 2-part movie. You really don't need to see Candyman 2 and 3. You really, really don't. Like, you really don't. I can't stress that further enough. Just don't. Just unless you really, really want to see more of Tony Todd's awesome acting, you can go catch that in all his other cameo appearances. You really don't need to see this one, those two. But this one, the 2021 one, which was co-written by Jordan Peele, we felt we were just kind of squeezed it in there in the end, and we're like, no, this needs to be given proper attention, pimp, and caring, because it was a great film. And then, Leonard Nimoy tried to stop me when I went hunting for Candyman. So, can we begin, or where do we begin with this one? This is our first to be continued that we've ever done here. How do we start this one?
Part 2. Previously on Ghastly Hallows.
Candyman. Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy.
Before we dive into this, let's acknowledge our chat for a moment.
Yes.
People that we do.
Right. Yeah.
Things are,
What's
yes.
going on with that old chat there?
We got asked if we're all doing well. Yes, we are. We hope you're doing well too. And things are always funny when it happens to someone else. You are 100% right on that one. Can anybody here care to tell me of things that are funny when they happen to someone else? I'll give you one good example. Like when somebody's car gets egged that you hate them, and it's like funny to see the car get vandalized, but then when it happens to your car, you're just like, now I have to go get it washed and it sucks. Or,
Right. Yeah.
stuff like that. That's something that's funny. Or, when you watch that movie, The Big Lebowski, and you see the guy trashing the Porsche, but it's not funny when they trash, the other guy's car. It wouldn't be funny if it happened to your Porsche in real life, but it is funny to see it happen to somebody else. You guys ever seen an example like that?
It also kind of helps that the guy's not real. Like it's not actually someone's car in the movie that's getting bashed. If I saw someone doing that to someone's car, I'm not sure if I would laugh. Maybe it would depend on whose it was.
See, that's what it is. It depends on who it is.
Yeah. And also, like sometimes, how what something that that sometimes gives you comfort in a difficult situation is, well, maybe we'll laugh about this later. That's actually true. Sometimes things are funny when you when they happened a while ago. It's almost like it happened to someone else at a certain point, and so you can laugh about it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like you're sort of distance or disassociated yourself from the
yeah,
situation, so it's not the
yeah.
same.
Or like, yeah, all the fallout from that situation has basically resolved itself. You're not mad about it anymore, and yeah, it's almost like remembering it is like watching a movie.
Uh, I hope to achieve that level of calm and tranquility someday. But when I still remember things, they still piss me off, even though I chuckle about it for a little while. I just get angry and
Yeah,
go on a large hate tirade 5 minutes later.
yeah. Well, I mean, you're still at the stage where you're cursing the name of a celebrity that you never met, who's
Well,
dead. So,
look, let's just put it like this. I felt betrayed by the fact that I called the name on the black beer and he didn't help me, okay? He decided to throw us into limbo for 3 whole weeks, and now here we are. Fucking Leonard Nimoy. Joke's on you. You still didn't get me. I'm still walking around here making podcasts and interrupting them in your airwaves. Because I know somewhere, somehow, if that movie White Noise is true, y'all are listening to this. Fucking. Anyways. So.
all right, I'm gonna pull out the blackboard and add that to the list of enemies.
The ghost of Leonard
oh,
Nimoy.
Red, I think we're gonna need more than a blackboard at this point, because considering he started off,
I've got two.
we're gonna need a little bit more than that.
You're gonna need a classroom, but that's about the blackboard size.
That's a decent start.
Fuck Leonard Nimoy. The ghost of Leonard Nimoy just made the enemies list. Have you guys ever seen that movie, Billy Madison?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Steve Buscemi's
Well, I was
part.
thinking of the scene in Anger Management where he calls up the guy that he used to bully in high school and says he's sorry, and the guy says, "Oh, all right,"
Yeah, that was
and then
Billy
he turns
Madison.
around and takes his name off of a list on his wall that says "people to kill."
that was Billy Madison.
Oh, I thought that was Anger Management.
No, it was Billy Madison. We were actually just watching that with a
Okay.
fiance the other day.
Okay, yeah.
And in the end, he shows up with the sniper rifle. He's like, "Man, am I glad I called that guy." Blue days, black night. But yes. So, Candyman 2021. Where do we begin with this one? It was
We can start with addressing the revisionist history that this movie decided to start off with.
Oh, okay.
define revisionist history.
So they took like the story of Candyman was passed down like the good old game of telephone, where the truths got muddled with each passing of the story, to the point where certain key characters were just left out in the sequel.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's my only gripe. With,
Oh, okay. So we'll start with an airing of grievances.
Just gonna
Only
be short.
then may the Festivus for the rest of us begin. That's right.
I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're gonna hear about it.
Hey, how about it? Oh, man. What the heck? Why is TikTok giving me so much of a hard head to just be able to stream over there, man? Come on. The U.S. government wants a piece of you. The U.S. government is about to make you the next Candyman. If we say TikTok into the Black Mirror for 5 times, we're going to see what happens there.
I really don't want to know what happens.
It can't be worse than what we have now.
Hey. 20,000 followers. We need them to follow us over here. Let's be nice to the TikTok audience, yeah? Yeah, real good there. Yeah.
Oh, the
Oh, yeah.
one enemy he doesn't want to make.
Hell no, I don't want to make that enemy. That's the basis of everything that we do, TikTok. I can say fuck Leonard Nimoy all I want. I can even say, what is it? What's that blonde, talentless hack bimbo's name that I was cussing out a couple of weeks ago?
I plead the fifth.
You know what I'm talking about? She hasn't changed her look since 1991.
I plead the fifth. Red, you plead the fifth too.
She was
You
married to
pleading.
Brad Pitt for a while, but she
I
left her because she was too boring, and he wound up going off with that dirty Angelina Jolie. What's his name? What's that talentless hack's name? Can anybody listening tell me
No, anyone
what
who's
the
listening,
name
do
of
not,
that?
not
Just
do
the
it.
Only
viewer,
audience will do it.
H Sinner, anybody out there. Just say the name of who that talentless hack is.
TikTok
And
sponsorship. That's the name.
no,
Thank you,
that
Justin
wasn't the
Bieber.
name. It was
Thank
some
you,
began
Justin
with a
Bieber.
J. She has
No.
more Botox on her face than you can ever think of what to say of that. It's all numb.
Joe Rogan. Got it. Yeah.
Joe Rogan has Botox. Jennifer. There we go.
Helen.
It's Jennifer. But I can't remember that second name. If anybody could just fool,
Helen, for the
just
love of everything.
give us that
do
one
it.
key. Because, you know, if we call that name out 5 times into a mirror, a ghost appears. You know that, right? But, yes. Unfortunately, though, poor old Anthony McCoy, I think, had better chances going up against that demon than what he wound up getting called against for.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is something, though, that I actually did.
Yeah, thank you, Justin Bieber.
Oh, fuck Jennifer. She's not funny. She sucks. So. I'm glad to be back talking shit about that horrible
Dang it,
wench
Helen.
from people. Aniston. There we go.
The dream is to get Jennifer Aniston onto the podcast.
No, it's not.
Okay, you call that a dream. I call that a nightmare.
I mean,
It
it
would-
would be funny.
You understand how many views we would get?
Yeah,
You know
it
how
would
much
be...
paperwork I have to fill out? I'm not looking forward to
And
it.
like there would be like media coverage of this, like basically anti Jennifer Aniston podcast host Jennifer Aniston.
It sounds funny, but when it happens, we're gonna be singing a different tune.
So you see, that's actually the theme of this movie, isn't it? It seems funny until it happens to you. It seems mystical and magical about calling a demon forth until it comes to you. Because essentially, right, like, when you first meet these people, they're sitting in what was the ruins of the Cabrini Green. It's now gentrified, really nice apartment and everything they got.
Yep.
It's not what it once was. And I actually went looking into the Cabrini Green, and there is an Instagram page that I follow, Chicago History.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw some people posting about a failed housing project, and I looked at it like, is this the same one? But no, it was a different housing project that was also demolished, I think, like around the same time the Cabrini Green was. And I just went in there and I asked, like, very easily, like, hey, has anybody here ever been to Cabrini Green? And I got like a whole bunch of responses to that. Some people really mad that I asked. Some people really happy that I asked. But nevertheless,
So why were the people that were mad, and why were the people that were happy?
because the people that were happy had like a decent memory of the Cabrini Green.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so this is weird, but I have to point race as a thing. An
Sure.
overwhelming amount of white people I saw on there after my comment, they just kind of like kept talking among themselves, were happy were kind of fond of the Cabrini Green because it's where they used to go buy cheap weed.
Okay.
Like that was like the thing. Like, oh man, I miss that place. We used to go get weed.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, the clickbait it right. So see, we would get that clickbait. I want that. Anyways, fuck Jennifer Aniston. Hopefully people get hashtag this.
Go on.
But
Go
Keep going.
But the people who were like very like happy about it, like they have kind of memories of doing, you know, hood rat things with their friends around the Cabrini Green. But then there were some people that were kind of like annoyed that I asked because they're like, that place sucked. That place needed to be shut down. That place was an inferno. Like, some people just really hated the Cabrini Green. And it was very interesting to like go over these messages because people were like upset about it. So I asked just like a second follow-up question. Has anybody been around? Has anybody seen what it looks like today? Because I was curious, like if anybody had seen what it looks like now. Like, I don't want to go onto Google because Google doesn't show. I don't even think it's called Cabrini Green anymore. It's called something else now. All that remains is like the small section of row houses, but the main building where like the film took place, that's gone. Where the beginning of this movie takes place, right, where he finds a guy in the wall. That, to my understanding, it's all that's left of the original Cabrini Green. So people are like, yeah, that's true. That's all that's left. But the original one is gone. And they're like, it couldn't have gone fast enough. That place was a cesspool for crime. And then once it was gone, like all that horrible crime just spilled out elsewhere into other parts of the city. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, so you're telling me that it was like a conduit for debauchery, and then once it was destroyed, the debauchery spread across the land? Right? Doesn't that sound like the plot of a horror movie?
And or a video game.
Yeah, like something that you think something that can't be killed. Like it just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fun fact. It was demolished in 2011.
Yeah. The main Cabrini Green was demolished in like 2011. Not that long ago. It's like maybe less than 20 years ago. But yeah, no, I follow Chicago history because there's a few spooky, weird things that have happened in Chicago. There's a the building. I think it's called the Sears something. I don't think it's the Sears Tower, but it's a very popular building. High-end building. Is where they found Chris Farley dead.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, like, some of the people that they didn't know that Chris Farley died in that apartment, right, where they found him.
Not the Drake, was it?
I can't remember. Like, this is like a weird thing that I heard too. Hold on a minute. Let me find this one. Chris Farley.
Yeah, he died in John Hancock Center.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a high-rise Chicago apartment, and then I heard something about people that cleaned that place would hear like weird shit in the apartment. It was one of those like odd things, and I'm like, wow, Chicago's riddled with like a lot of weird, creepy history. I also believe that's where John Dillinger was killed.
Yep.
The street is still out there. Like, there's a lot of like, what do you call it? Postmodern, or the modern age and postmodern urban legends in Chicago. Makes it very fitting for the setting of Candyman.
Right, yeah.
I wonder if sorry.
I don't know if there's any John Dillinger stuff on this, but you can take a gangster tour of Chicago. There's, I think there's one or two companies that go around to some significant mafia sites, and they bring you up to the side of a building and say, yeah, you can see the bullet holes here from when this guy was killed. They take you to the site of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So interesting stuff in Chicago.
Fun note. While you were out there, I had intended to eventually make the trek with our other buddy who's no longer around.
Right.
I was trying to make my way to a wrestling show, and then I'm like, oh, while I'm there, I can go hang out with Red and Jerkwad. Well, we're all there getting hammered in nice parts of Chicago, and I can go look up for where all the monsters were chopped up and thrown into the river and just take pictures in a very morbid sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sounds like a nice, lovely Sunday afternoon.
Hey man, I drove past the Amityville house once with a baby in the backseat of the car.
And that's just a typical Saturday morning.
Just to just to drive down Ocean Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
no big deal.
People cussed at me because I was taking pictures of the house.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh,
You're
okay.
gonna go to hell for that.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, really?
That's a weird jump in logic, but
Someone said
okay.
that to you?
Yep.
Oh,
So
I wonder if I know that person.
so here's how it went down. I tried to take the picture fucking discreetly, right? I could not
Yeah,
get any more discreet than I was.
yeah.
So as I'm taking the picture, I'm about to hit send. My mom calls. I hit the
Oh,
hang up
okay.
button and I try to take a picture again. This is like 2013, right? So like it's not like today, right, where you hit the button on your phone, you get right back into the camera screen.
Yeah.
So I hit disconnect
Oh, okay.
and I hit camera again, and she calls again. So I
Mhm.
hang up the phone again. And now she's decided to start like machine gunning the redial button until I pick up the phone. Hey, how long are you guys gonna be? Mom, I'll call you right back. What? Mom, I'll call you right back. What? I will call you right back. What? Are you like fucking deaf? How dare you say that to me? Hang up the phone. No, when are you guys coming back? Hang up the phone. I hang up the phone. I actually did. I just hung up the phone. Like, all right, I try to take the shot again. As soon as I'm taking the shot, she calls me again, interrupting the camera. Like, what do you want? When are you guys coming back? We don't know. I'll call you back in 2 seconds. Because they need to know, because I'm like, and I hang up the phone again. So finally, right, where this back and forth goes, I finally get the camera out, and then the stupid camera has the flash on it. As the flash goes off, these people are driving by, and they stop. You guys are going to hell for doing that. And then they drive off. My cousin and I look at each other. We're like, all right, we need to get the hell up out of here before we wind up getting in trouble. Because we don't know if the homeowners are cool who would just stop and take pictures of the house.
In 2013, they would have been cool. I
Yeah.
know the people that lived there in 2013.
And see, that would have been nice, but unfortunately, we got kind of like pigeonholed to that one. Whoops. Whoops. Recording.
We don't know if the homeowners are cool. Who just
What are you doing, audio? Why are you
It's the
repeating
YouTube
yourself?
loop. We're stuck in a YouTube loop. Oh!
Fucking Leonard Nimoy is at it again.
And yet you keep cursing his name.
Yeah, I will continue to curse his name. Him, Carl Sagan, and what was that other guy in the wheelchair that everybody was talking about last month? I blocked out his name because he became a meme.
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. All
Yeah.
three of them. I'll just keep cursing the names out. Looking right back into the Black Mirror. Mm-hmm. But no, like it. Back to Chicago history though. Like that was one though that I did look into a lot before. There is like a couple of interesting sort of creepy spots in Chicago. And this one, I'm actually gonna piss off the owner of that Instagram page and just share this link on there. Hopefully somebody sees it. I'm talking
What's
about
two more enemies? One or two more enemies.
Hey, he should be happy. I had a lot of people engaging on his conversation about the Cabrini Green. But no, so that's like a very interesting thing I got to hear about though. People when I asked folks about the Cabrini Green, like, have you ever actually dealt with it? And enough people were actually like, yeah, no, the people who were upset, like I said, they were just upset because it was sort of like a hotbed for crime. But from there, like the rest of the folks that I read from, like they were just kind of like, yeah, it sucks that it's gone, but you know, unfortunately, it is gone. And there's nothing that it's not like there was it. It had a history of bad. What's the word I'm looking for here? It just had a history of bad things occurring inside of it, so much so that it couldn't be saved towards the end of its days. But it was like a very fun thing to like, oh, this is a place that really did exist. It's not just some made up or mythical place. Like this, the Cabrini Green was an actual building, and it towards the end did have its own urban legend that pretty much kind of embodied the spirit of that place. Because once it was gone, those people had to go somewhere. You don't just erase them, and it's a lot like what happens here. Just because the Cabrini Green was gone doesn't mean Candyman was gone.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't erase the things that happened in the same place, you know?
Oh, Candyman was a concept like a boogeyman. Like the only way you can get rid of him is if you don't speak about him and you get rid of like any and all traces that would connect to him, which they tried to do to give them credit. Like in this movie, like they touch upon the same type of relationship, whereas like they were doing their best without so much speaking like that clearly about it. They just wanted to just erase. They acknowledged what he stood for, what he did, but what he was connected to, and he just vowed to never utter his name again for the safety of every and all inhabitants of the Chicago area.
Yeah, try
And
to
it
make
worked.
the legend die as quickly as you can.
Yeah, and unfortunately, someone didn't. It only takes one person. It only takes one person to not be on board and to run his or her mouth or their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
His name again for the safety of the Chicago area.
Yeah, try to make the legend. What the hell?
Deja vu.
Is Leonard Nimoy fucking with your audio over there too?
It was me.
No.
Okay, you did that on purpose. Okay.
I should have turned my microphone off.
What was that, sir? But no, so that was something very interesting that I got to look up. I wanted to share with you guys. And if I ever did have the option to go sleep in a place that was essentially haunted, I would go sleep inside Chris Farley's house and do cocaine with his ghost. I'm pretty sure he'd appreciate that.
I mean, there is a haunted house in Missouri that people no, not a haunted house, a hotel that you can visit.
You mean the house, the rising? Oh wait, no, that's New Orleans.
Oh yeah,
It says it
sorry.
in the song. Yeah.
Yeah, it's New Orleans.
They call the rising sun.
Yep.
It's been the ruin of many poor girl, and God, I know I'm one. Anyway.
Yep. But no, I'm sorry. It's like it seems like we're dodging the film, but the thing is, like, there's a lot to unpack with this one because at least Candyman '94 took place at the time where it's like long gone now, right? It's been like almost 20 something years. This one is taking place in the modern day, and there's just like a lot of history and a lot of themes surrounding it because what I just brought up right now is essentially the general theme of gentrification, where it's like if you put a place away, right, like does it really go away or does it continue along? And you guys just said the same thing, like not really, right? It doesn't go away. You can't really kill a legend that fast because everybody who knows has to take it with them, and not everybody wants it to go away.
But there is a chance for it to be eradicated. You just need to get everyone on board and to not break the simple taboos or utter it, because that's how you give it the ability to survive. That's how you give it life. You just have to snuff it out like a fire or a flame. You just take away the oxygen that feeds it.
So,
have you guys seen The Babadook?
Yep.
Bolt?
I think you know the answer to that.
Duke.
Is it a yes?
No. 9.99
Bolt's
times
an
out of 10.
alien. Bolt
If you haven't
doesn't
seen-
watch films.
Okay. I was going to make a point that potentially ruins the ending of that movie.
In
But
next week's episode, we shall cover the Babadook.
What happened to the exorcism?
Okay, we should do that one at some point, and then talk about how the endings are interesting to compare. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's leave that. Yeah.
No, but like the same idea goes into this one, right? Like the idea you kill a legend, but it never really, you can try, but it never goes away. I mean, a couple of years ago, I found out that there was an old An old church was uncovered at some point, like 2018, hidden somewhere in deep sands in like Egypt or something like that. They found an old god
Okay.
that they unearthed like all of these temples for, and I'm like, I wonder how many people kept quiet about that. And now here we are with the new story, the new lore and mythos found of a new god somewhere deep in the ruins of the sand. Like these things never go away, just because you can bury it deep in there. But much like Imhotep, it will rise from the grave and keep coming back over and over and over again. And much like Jennifer Aniston's career, it just won't go away. It'll leave you, it'll haunt and torment you until some idiot keeps telling you she's the angel of his nightmares. Fucking idiot. But he actually did say that. So
The angel of his nightmares.
I
Yeah.
don't think he said those exact
The
words.
Something
angel
like
of
that.
nightmares.
it was something
Is
like
that
that. That's a quote from that fucking Blink 182 song.
Oh yeah, he definitely didn't say that. Then
Where he
'cause he's
said
not the type of
something
person
along those lines. It was like, man, I'm having a bad day. I just think about. Anyways, back to Candyman. But like some things, like they just don't go away. They don't want to go away, and that's what I think happened here. Like they were talking about Candyman when you first meet them in the apartment, Anthony and his friends. Remember, like they were joking about it. They were like, "Oh yeah, supposedly the old legend goes," and they go into the story, which we later find out, plot twist, we've said it 100 times, was his own backstory about the baby that made it out of the fire and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they knew about it. Like it's a local legend. It's just people stopped participating in it. That's all. They.
Oh, that's what we were told to believe,
And
or led to believe.
well, that actually is another weird thing because like these past 3 weeks have been kind of nuts, and a lot of things just keep kind of going back here to this film. Like it's kind of really been really weird. But I'm noticing too that like in our group, in our current generation, like we get a lot of things told to us. We get fed a narrative, right? And then we're told to believe it. And a lot of us kind of don't question it. We just go along with it. Like, okay, yeah, this is the narrative. I'm cool with this. This is kind of like the issue with what's happening with Anthony, the majority of this movie. He is spoon-fed a narrative from very early on that he wasn't even born where he was born, right? And deeper into that, he's being told also that he needs to be representative of something that they think he is. I remember we talked about this briefly last week, but I actually want to see if I can unpack this with you guys a little better. Remember, like, as soon as he's showing them his art, they're like, yeah, but this is good, but this isn't what I expect of you. I expect something different. I expect something raw. And he's like, what? But what do you mean? Like, I need to show what they show. Give me what I think you are, right? And it's kind of like diminishing and just like demeaning his work, which was good work in my opinion. I actually did like a lot of the work that he was putting up.
The paintings, yeah.
The paintings, yeah. Like he had good stuff. Like I'm not like the most. Let's be real. I'm not artistically trained at all. I come from a family of artists, but I am not artistically trained in drawing personally. But you look at this and you go, no, like it's good stuff, but what do you guys want out of him? And then I'm like, you know what it is? Like they probably expected this guy to come out with some zooped up, extremely insane level stuff, and it's not delivering because he's just like them. That's ultimately what he is. He's just a regular dude. There's nothing special other than, in their eyes, he's a black dude. That's how I interpreted that. Like, it's, you're special because you're supposed to be a black struggling artist. Right. Even though...
They got the struggling part right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's kind of what it is. So... when he doesn't deliver what they think he's capable of, again, because I think he was pretty much firing on all cylinders. It's just he's a good artist, but they don't need him to be a good artist. They need him to be an exceptional one in a lifetime talent of a black artist.
Well,
Right.
like, they just need him to be a talking piece.
Yeah. What they need. And I'm sitting there going like, the dude, like, what is this story? Like, what, in my head I'm like, were you guys told that this guy is supposed to be this way? Like, where does this come from? And it's like, so I've actually, again, why I like Jordan Peele films. Racism is never a direct path, right? The Jordan Peele film, they kind of it takes like a few detours before you kind of realize, like, oh, shit. And even then, you're still kind of like, but wait a minute, is that really racist? Like, really? Right? Like, And it's like, well, yeah, no, I expect better out of you, but if it's not that good, it's okay for me to shut you down. We'll just find somebody else. Because I felt like that was the attitude with that lady also, right? The lady I confused for Helen a few times.
The art critic.
The art critic.
Wow.
I'm sorry, she
You're
does
like,
look a
wait a
little bit
minute,
like
Helen?
Virginia Madsen.
Wow.
Just a
It's
little bit.
Come on. It's bad enough that they got her lore inaccurate. But now you're confusing her for someone who is clearly supposed to be like a physical stand-in for her.
I thought she was for a bit there.
Yep, and they made sure don't forget the fact that she's not supposed to be like that because they brutally murdered her. But you know what? We're getting ahead of ourselves.
But no, but I go back to the point. What? Right. Oh, I love the. Well, yeah, like that's actually the thing though. Like, is it racist? And some people will like sit there and ask, like, "Oh, is this behavior though really racist?"
Right.
I'll give a good example. I knew someone that thought it was funny that they were dating somebody of color because it would annoy their dad. And I
think most people can say that they know someone like that in their lifetime.
Yeah, and then you're like, but that's not cool. And
I mean, if it was like your motivation to date them to annoy your dad, I think that's using someone,
yes,
which is not cool. If you find if you find the situation of you dating someone who's not white and your dad's annoying and your dad's annoyed by it, and you just kind of find that funny, just like as it happens, I mean, maybe it is kind of funny if it's not actually like a serious situation.
I don't know, man. It's not funny being on the other side of that, though.
Well, no, yeah, no. And if the other person doesn't find it funny, then it's certainly not. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
I've seen stories like that though, and you're kind of like, what? Like, but so then are you doing this for that motivation? Like, is that what it is?
Sure. Yeah.
That was like one. Like some people are like, well, that's not racist. Why? Well, because they're actually taking time and they're not taking time. They're actually in a relationship with somebody though of color. I'm like, yeah, but why do you see that as a positive that your parents aren't accepting of this? Maybe you should kind of like,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
yeah, like that's
Well,
not a positive spin.
I guess what I was trying to say is that it's possible to find humor in a bad
Oh.
in a bad situation, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Some people find like the humor in a bad situation. Like you got to make the best of it sometimes because you guys do
Yeah.
care about one another, and like this is just a hurdle. But to some
Yeah,
folks,
but if it's like if you're kind of like milking the situation for like lulls, then yeah, that's not cool.
yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah.
And some people go like, "Well, is it?" And I go, "Well, yeah, but this is kind of what it is, right?" Like I think in these days we're kind of going through a different. How do I put this? We're going through a different re-examining of racism, right? Where like stuff that we didn't think was racist as a kid, now it's coming off more so, and it kind of leads
Right. Yeah.
to like the general idea with Candyman, where it's like, the one that we see most of the film. I was this is like the one critique I'm gonna give this movie. Just give Tony Todd all the time. I wasn't a fan of the man with actual candy and that weird '70s coat. You know, that was the Candyman that he would see in the elevator, the one from the laundry room. He was a cool design, but I was really hoping to see Tony Todd Candyman more so. But I go back to what I was saying, like when he's seeing this guy and all this stuff, you're kind of like caught into it. This guy was murdered and accused of murder, even though he wasn't all the way there, because he was giving out candy to kids.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was brutally beaten to death. Right? Like that's
yeah.
the idea.
And oddly enough, they glossed over the fact that he just had a hook for a hand, like it was like a normal thing. I'm just like, how you have a guy who is being accused of giving out razor bladed candies to children in the neighborhood, and you're gonna gloss over the fact that he just had a hook for a hand, like it was nothing.
People back in the day used to just jump the gun, man. Well, back in the day, people today, they still just jump the gun. Those Looney Tunes were pretty. I'm gonna read the comment out. Those Looney Tunes were pretty racist. Not gonna lie. Since we were on the subject of re-examining childhood things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can go back to in like your catalog of childhood things, like the crows in Dumbo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of
Chinese,
thing. It's like, oh, that's not good.
That Chinese cat in the Aristocats movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh shit, that did not. Oh fuck, that did not age well at all.
It's sort of like you laugh at it for a very different reason now, where it's like, oh my god, this is making me so uncomfortable, and I feel kind of guilty. Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna take this moment to say, fuck you, Speedy Gonzalez. I hate you. I hate the design of you. I fucking had to deal with a lot of stupid shit because of Speedy Gonzalez. Instead of fucking canceling Apu, who actually had a character, had a personality, had a story arc, we should have canceled fucking Speedy Gonzalez. Fuck you. And they rev up my ass. Fuck you. Fucking Speedy. There we go. I just had to get that one out. I hate Speedy Gonzalez. I never found him funny. Never found his cartoons funny. Fucking so much racism thrown at you over Speedy Gonzalez is fucking annoying. I hated that character. But yes. But no, like it goes back to Candyman though. Like we're sitting like the reason why I actually am gonna tie this into horror. Mexico saved Speedy actually. Alright, I don't want to go on an anti-Mexican tirade and have another government on me. I'm just gonna keep piling right through. Real actually moment. Yeah. So back to fucking Speedy Gonzalez. Anyway, why I want to get into this one a little, unpack that one too, is because there is a sort of edge of fear with a lot of this shit, where it's like some people are jumping the gun because they're afraid, and it has to tie in with racism. And I don't know how much time we're gonna have, so I want to kind of like jump into this while like I'm gonna piggyback into this stuff. The end credits for this film, the shadow puppets that we're seeing, that we see like all these different stories. I found out after we had wrapped last week that 3 out of the 4 of those stories are real. They're based on true stories.
Yes. Let's see. The ones. Okay, so of the shadow puppet montage, that were a member of the Candyman montage. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there were 6 displayed because we're including a character we haven't really talked about yet, but for spoiler reasons. But yeah, of those 6, 3 of those, half of those were real.
Yeah, I did not know that those were actual cases, which kind of led me to looking for something I didn't expect to look for, which was the real Candyman. Like times where this type of thing has occurred, and it kind of like led me down this odd little rabbit hole. But the reason why I wanted to point it out is all those stories inherently have to do with a bit of fear. And a bit of like fear of the other, fear of each other in our own neighborhoods. So a lot of the stories that I saw are usually like people jumping the gun because they are kind of like met with this. I hate using this fucking word, but it's like because I can never verify it. They're met with like a sense of prejudice, right, from the beginning. So when they go into the laundry room and they attack that guy in the laundry room, they beat him to death. Did they assume that he had a weapon in his hand, but it was just his hand, the hook?
Well, no, they already went in there with the intention to kill him. Like, cause they already had a wanted potion and everything. He already had the information about his hand hook in the description. So
the trouble with having a hook hand is that you're never without a weapon, which sometimes is an advantage and sometimes is a disadvantage.
Well, it's hard to hide that. It's
Well,
really
like a
hard to
hook
hide
glove.
that. There is no glove on this earth in that time
like
period.
a hook, like a hook shaved, a hook shaped oven mitt.
Do you just hear yourself? It's still hook shaped.
I do, and I think I have a great product idea. I'm gonna make an Etsy. I'm gonna start making hook shaped oven mitts.
You're aiding and abetting a criminal, so you know that. But go ahead. Go ahead.
What's wrong with a hook?
For a hand, I would take having a hand.
People kill people.
Yes, but people with hooks, ironically, don't kill people. But that's. Just
Hold
keep
on, making an Etsy right now. I'll show you, Bolt.
You show him.
You're gonna cough your own hand and then replace it with a hook and then make your own.
I just might. The depth of my spite shall be known.
See, I'm not the only one around here who's spiteful.
You're not that spiteful.
The hell I'm not. I can be even more spiteful.
You know what? Before I see any one of you test that and then leave me with a medical bill, let's just get back to our good old main character, Anthony McCoy here.
Yes.
Hey, Just a Viewer is behind the idea. He thinks I should take it to Shark Tank.
Just a view, I swear.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
My goodness. All right.
And they're gonna have nice knitted patterns on them. I'm gonna make an Argyle one. I'm gonna make a polka dot one.
You're not, okay. No killer in their right mind with they're just not going to. Their hook for a hand.
One with daffodils on it.
Look, we live in a modern era. Look, with guns. Why would anyone go for a hook for a hand when they can have a gun for a hand?
Because no one would suspect it coming, man.
We really have Final Fantasy Rebirth being a thing. Why would anyone have a hook for a hand when they can have a gun for a hand and like cosplay as Barrett?
Hey, you just might have answered your own question there, sir. Barrett would be gunned down in the modern day with that hand.
Not when he has a gun.
What is he going to do, shoot at police officers?
Yes. You literally have a gun for a hand. Why wouldn't you shoot at police officers trying to shoot you?
It's against the law, sir.
So is hiding in laundromats.
That guy wasn't mentally all the way there. He was mentally unsound.
And yet the police beat him to death.
Well, that's the tragedy of it, isn't it? Like, he was wrongfully beaten to death.
I mean, would you argue the fact that, let's say for the benefit of the doubt, like he actually committed those things, would that still warrant him being beaten to death?
No.
Right. So he was damned either way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no matter what you've done, you should get due process.
Yeah.
I mean, under our system, I'm not saying that there's not the desire to just take matters into your own hands, but
Well, I'm pretty sure that that's what's going on with that dude over at Nickelodeon. There's a lot of people about to take matters into their own hands over there.
Wait, which dude in Nickelodeon?
That fat dude that everybody's talking about in those documentaries right
Ah,
now.
oh wait, I misunderstood that. I thought you were talking about like, oh, there's someone at Nickelodeon that's going around like being the law that that should have like dealt with all
Oh
these
no, the
instances.
law. Those people are gonna deal with that guy. But it goes back to it though, like right. There is like this idea of mob mentality and narratives that are fed to us, which I was trying to kind of like narrow home. This guy was fed all this stuff. People are acting on it. He's acting on it. Good old Dan. Yep. You know, like the idea is though, as I'm trying to tie this all in together, is that we kind of tend to believe things that are told to us, and we don't really look into it any further than it should be.
Like that female police officer from last year.
Which one? Elaborate.
The one that was popularized for having sexual relations with like what 5+ officers in her division.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and then it comes to light that she was harassed and blackmailed into doing those things.
I remember, and I also remember people making fun of her though. And
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like, why are y'all making fun of her? Like, you know, these other guys did step in and tap that. Like, why are we just making fun of her?
yeah,
And
she was
not many
vilified for
people
that.
can give you like a valid answer. They're just like, well, because it's messed up what you did. Yeah, but don't you think it's even more messed up? 5 guys sharing one. Yeah, the one who took the whole squad. But it's like, why are you all making fun of her, right? When all of these guys are in there getting their thing, they're all in there getting down with this lady, with this one lady. You know, they're all sharing.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, the one who could take on the whole squad.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
one who took on the
yeah,
whole squad.
yeah. I'm just reading the chat. Yeah, it's just things like that. Those were the what that stood out at the time, as opposed to what you're asking about. Like, oh wait, why aren't we talking about how all the other police officers, how they could? I mean, they were fired. I vaguely remember that being a thing. Like they were fired for their misconduct.
They were fired, but I remember though, like that narrative that was spun for a long
Yeah,
time was they were making fun of her, and I'm like, well,
yeah,
why are y'all making fun of her
and her husband.
and her husband? Like, why are you making fun of them? Like, at the end of the day, there's like other people here that were all in the same thing. You know, like yeah, she did win a settlement, but it's like,
500,000.
yeah, she won a settlement, and good for her for winning a settlement. But my point is, like, we all drank the Kool Aid on that one. Like, another one that we're drinking the Kool Aid on right now. Uh, Again, not to get political here, but it's like we kind of do this as a society. Uh, Jada Pinkett Smith, like, you know, I will say, it was she not laughing? Yeah, but from there, everything else is hearsay that she goaded that guy into going up there and punching and slapping Chris Rock. But everybody kind of just runs with this thing that she's now the bad guy of the story. She made this guy go over there and hit Chris Rock. And I'm kind of sitting there like, I've laughed at jokes that my fiance doesn't find very funny. I'm pretty sure y'all have laughed at jokes. Everyone here on this podcast has laughed at jokes that, you know, their partners and SOs don't find very funny, but you've chuckled a little bit. But if
Mhm.
they don't find it funny and they say, go hit that person, you do have your own agency, right? To turn around and be like, no, I'm not going to do that.
You don't have
Especially when
to.
they were
Yep.
already separated prior to that incident.
Well, and also when it's in front of the entire planet, like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, like, you don't have to do that. Like, you can easily have. He could have easily been like, you know what? No, I'm not doing that. Nah, it's just funny. Like, it's just a joke. I don't think he means anything by it. It's just a silly alopecia joke. But, you know, like, everybody turned around and said, he did this for you, and you're going to turn around and, like, just not even be thankful or not even married. It's like, well, man, like he shouldn't have done that in the first place.
Well, and what did it accomplish? Didn't
Yeah,
accomplish anything.
it's not gonna
Oh,
accomplish
he got
anything. Like,
blackballed. He got blackballed from the
not really,
Oscar.
because he's getting his movies still though. Like he's still gonna get those Bad
Yeah,
Boys
it's
movies.
sort of been forgotten.
Well, he
Yeah.
gets the movies, but he's not allowed to go to a war show for X amount of time, which is just
Yeah.
like whatever.
Well, lucky him. You don't have to sit there through like 18 boring speeches.
Yeah, he lucked out with
He
that
lucked
one.
out on that one. He got his. He got to keep his Oscar. He got to
Maybe
go
that's
home.
why he did it. He was looking for a way out.
There are better ways. There are better ways, and actors rarely they are very like that. Have that much foresight, and also Chris Rock. But it's like there's no way he could have known that this was going to be the outcome because Chris Rock got to milk the situation as a comedian because almost any form of content is good content material for comedians at this rate.
He handled it so well.
Yeah, because it was a win for him to handle it like that.
He literally turns to the side of the stage and he goes, "That was the greatest moment in television history."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it honestly was the last time any of us gave a shit about the
It was,
Oscar.
I mean, maybe
Yep.
great. It wasn't a good thing, but it was
was
shocking,
memorable.
and it was TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a viewer put it, she is kind of a bad guy in the story, but the slap wasn't her fault.
Well, I'm actually gonna turn around and be like, she's not the worst person in the story, and I'm gonna argue maybe she's not the bad guy because at the end of the day, if you're in a situation as an adult and the person obviously does not have any feelings for you, you can leave. And you should choose to leave unless you're an obsessive weirdo who does not want to acknowledge any bit of failure in their own life, and you choose to stay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he needs to go. Not like he needs to stay there. Again, you're also the same weirdo that was married, knowing your job, and you chose not to sign a prenup. These are consequences, but again, for your own agency and your own mental health, leave. But no, he doesn't do that. You're like, oh well, because he loves her. Well, even if he does, he should just go. You're not wanted there anymore. But I go back to my point though. The narrative is she's bad, he's good. Go watch Bad Boys for Life or whatever that next Bad Boys movie that's coming out in June is gonna be. That's a thing. There's coming out with Bad Boys 4 or 5 or 3, whatever. I don't know what fucking number is
It's
that.
4?
The Bad Boys 4. Coming out with Bad Boys 4. We're getting that. So now it's like, oh, okay, cool. Go watch that. Forget about everything that's going on. He's still the bankable star. And people have gone into it and they've forgotten about it. And that's kind of like a thing that this film, I feel like, kind of shows. It's like they weave the story. Helen kidnapped the baby.
Okay, there's the connection. Yeah.
Yeah, like Helen kidnapped the baby. Helen did all these things. They did all this to cover up and kill Candyman. Like to get rid of Candyman, get rid of the story. But I actually also think that what this film is trying to tell us is truth always comes out. You see one weirdo who hangs out at a laundromat all day or runs a podcast to kind of sit there all day long and just stare at it, and he'll start talking about it, and then he'll call out Leonard Nimoy and he'll get haunted. But it'll happen, That's the connection. That's what I was trying to point out. Like they kind of weave this narrative that Helen was evil, and they're telling the story like with confidence in the apartment. Helen did this. Helen was the one who tried to kidnap the baby, but she saw that all was lost, so she killed herself after they took the baby away from her. When like in reality, no, like they all went back. They all went to her funeral and paid respects on the way out and left Candyman's hook there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like you had a bunch of witnesses, like a whole bunch of people that are probably still that were alive at that time and witnessed it. They're still around, but the legend has been spun into something different somehow.
Yeah.
Well, they only highlight only a handful of individuals that were alive during the Helen portion of the Candyman saga. It was, as we mentioned, the guy in the laundromat,
Mm-hmm.
and well, I'm not supposed to spoil this right now. Anthony's mother.
Well, I think we've kind of already discussed the fact that Anthony is the baby, the fabled baby in that story.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if we mentioned that.
Yeah, we've mentioned it, and like the reality is like what I feel we kind of were doing with last time was we just kind of like did a speed run right through the whole thing, and we didn't really like unpack any of this. It's like there's a lot going on there that I feel is like, no, we can't just leave all that off the table because like even right now, like discussing this narrative thing, like we're going into it. We also still haven't even started talking about Anthony's girlfriend.
I mean, she, like, no discredit to her, she doesn't serve that much of a vital part of the movie. She was just, I mean, granted, like, if it wasn't for her trying to get Anthony into the show as a good girlfriend who was doing too much to Wood in her situation, but it's like, if it wasn't of that, like, I think he would have been goaded into his transformation. Um, by some other means because that laundromat guy was determined for the resurrection of Candyman because he deemed in his own mind that Candyman was vital for the survival of what the neighborhood stood for.
Well, what do you think?
Hmm. I feel conflicted because it's like I don't agree with instead of calling him laundromat. Um his name is William. There we go. Yeah, William. I don't agree with William's stance on just take using Anthony to continue the legacy of Candyman for his own means because he wanted to kind of use Anthony as a way to stop what the second round of gentrification that was going on in the neighborhood to like force the mythos of it to just die and evaporate away and this let like change that he's not okay with to flourish. But on the other hand, um, there it feels like there is some truth to having a Candyman, like the actual like the pure essence of what Candyman's supposed to be. Like he is the um. Hmm, trying to, he's basically like the force of nature to kind of as used as a counterbalance to the things that go wrong with injustice that happens to people of any and all sorts of backgrounds. So on that hand, I kind of feel like he has a purpose in reality because of how we shape things as a society and how we handle things. So unless we get that underway handled properly and we don't like we handle it in a way that we don't need the existence of Candyman ever again or at all, then Candyman still serves a purpose.
Hmm.
I actually think Candyman is the effect of all that stuff. It's because all that stuff happens that there is a Candyman. Again, like,
You think it goes the other way?
yeah, I think it goes the other way. Like, again, it's very fascinating because Cabrini Green was a real place, and a lot of these stories actually did occur. And it kind of like makes you take a very odd, sort of creepy look at the way the world is. It's like if somebody looks at you a certain kind of way one day, it's lights out. You know,
Mhm.
if somebody
Yeah.
gets the wrong idea about you, and you just so happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even arguing over something basic, it could easily be lights out for you.
Mhm.
You know, it's not. It sounds morbid, but it is something that like is possible. You know, like one day you might be arguing about something silly, and then the next thing you know, you're arguing over a bag of seeds being too expensive, and then that's it, lights out.
It's not really morbid, just the reality of things. Because people, we have what we have, young impressionable youth emulating terrible, degenerate, debauchery behavior for likes and clout,
Mm.
and that's at the less abrasive side of the spectrum.
Yeah,
Then
Red,
we
have you
have
heard what the latest trend in New York is?
What is it?
Subway surfing.
What is subway surfing?
You get into the MTA and you climb on top of the train car as it's moving and you film
Oh
yourself for the gram.
dear.
I thought it was punching people on
Oh,
the
that's
street.
always been a thing. Knockout.
Yeah, that was the knockout game. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
they brought that back. Well,
Oh,
deranged.
well, no. I mean, I remember hearing about that in like 2005,
Yeah.
I never heard of.
2004, something like
I
that.
never
Yeah.
heard about that.
Yeah,
This is news to me.
Yeah, that was one of those things on like the local 10 o'clock news, that kind of thing.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah, it made a
A mobile game? There's a mobile game of this? Great. I'll have to go look this up.
There was, I think it was in the UK. Maybe there was also a game of like just walking into someone's house.
Oh yeah, I remember
Oh,
hearing about that.
I
Yeah.
heard about that. Like what? A
Yeah,
couple months ago?
and live streaming it. Yeah, like just walking into a complete stranger's house while they're home.
Oh my goodness! What?
Yeah.
That
And that's actually a good way to get yourself killed.
It kind of is. Yeah.
depends on the country
Yeah.
you're in.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In the UK, I mean, it might not be
Yeah.
deadly, but in
No,
certain parts of in certain parts of the US, you're playing with your life.
Yeah, if you go down to Texas and you pull that crap, oh
Yeah.
that's a good way to get yourself on a T-shirt.
Yeah. Or get yourself all over someone's t-shirt because that's it for you. But like, that's the thing, right? Like, it's really creepy, but it's something that happens on a daily basis. Like, this isn't a movie. Like, there's a lot of people out there that, because of the way they look, the way they sound, the way they dress, they'll wake up the next day. They might not wake up the next day. Like, it might be the last day they walk out the street, you know? And it's kind of like, not to get political, not to be anti or pro anything. It's just these are things that you hear about. And Candyman, why it's such a strange. That's why I think it sticks around with everybody for so long. It's such a strange one because the stories that it's using, very tastefully, might I add, and very sensitively. That's also important that it does tell its stories very sensitive and very tastefully. Is that these stories are real, they're happening in real time, and a lot of the time that the stories are happening, they're happening in real places, and it's done in such a way that it makes you think. At least for me, it did. It makes you wonder, like, is there a Candyman out there? Is there something like this or an energy like this out there? And I wanted to run that by you guys. Do you guys think that there's some kind of form of this out there in the world nowadays?
Not from what I see, not really. Because if there is, it's doing a lousy job. As we have literally people just taking their act of like just scumbaggery on the road internationally, and like then they come back like, oh, everything's fine. They monetize it to the point. Whereas like it's just laughably insane how those people get away scot-free more times than not. And then like the few times that it doesn't work pan out that way, it still doesn't feel like a win.
And why not?
I don't know. It feels like too many people too many innocent bystanders or good people get taken out or get put in the crosshairs or in harm's way before that mouth malforce gets neutralized and it's only a temporary thing. There, it doesn't feel like a permanent solution or like a lasting impact because it's always going to be like a 10 more or 100 more that just creep up that takes its place.
I liked your point, Jack, about the sensitivity with which the movie treats the stories. This struck me as a pretty serious horror movie,
It is.
and yeah, and I feel like many horror movies are semi-serious or just more there kind of for the extravagance and more there for the scares than the content. And that's or more the serious content, and that's fine. But when you're dealing with these kinds of issues in um on issues that are like real and taking place in a real place because Cabrini Green was a real place. Um, I think that making a horror movie out of that kind of thing, you run the risk of sensationalizing it and just turning it into something for entertainment. Kind of like what we talked about with that Netflix Dahmer series a few months ago.
Yeah.
But I feel like these two Candyman movies really struck a tone of these are some serious things, and but there's kind of a supernatural metaphor that we can tell about them that takes an interesting and respectful angle on it.
Yeah, actually, again, that's also something that I appreciated about this one. Like, you can kind of sit there and be like, this is real, but it didn't feel exploitative.
Right.
And I'll tell you one movie that they actually did do they did exploit real people, and after a while it became very, very insensitive. This knockoff to Paranormal Activity. It
What
was
was it
called
called?
Paranormal Encounters or something like that.
Hmm.
And in the sequels, they had the ghost of John Wayne Gacy.
So, um,
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mm,
I don't know. It hasn't been long enough. It hasn't been long enough.
It's never gonna be long enough for that.
Yeah. That's kind of an interesting question. How long is long enough? But yeah,
Does anyone want to explain who John Gacy is, just for the audience members that don't know who that is?
it's
Or
not that John Wayne. Just to be clear.
Well, that John Wayne isn't exactly a good person either. Fucking no better than John Wayne Gacy.
Not a serial killer though.
No, it was a serial something else though. So I've heard stories about that guy. They even call the protocol when dealing with a victim the John Wayne playbook.
Oof.
Yeah. So
I don't think I've heard of John Wayne, and I'm gonna leave it like that.
let me tell you this, Pilgrim.
I was just gonna say a pilgrim thing.
Pilgrim. I was
Pilgrim.
faster to the
John Wayne
draw.
Gacy is the killer clown. Just a viewer.
Yes,
Yes,
just
the
the
killer
viewer.
clown.
He is the basis for that clown that throws the gas at you in Dead by Daylight. That's who he is. And I had an idiot one time say, Dead by Daylight would be more fun if they brought real people into it.
And yeah, it seems okay to do something that's kind of loosely based on a real killer, but like having the actual killer. And if it was like, I don't know, less than a century ago or so.
Yeah, even then, it's like I was
Yeah,
still
yeah.
feel icky paying money to play Jack the Ripper. Paying money to play as Nicolas Cage. I can live with that. It's not criminal at this point in time. Hopefully this doesn't age poorly, but paying.
You know that is.
Yeah. No, it like just because it was a long time ago doesn't mean that those people's lives didn't matter, right? It doesn't mean that the killings weren't equally as horrible as anything that happened 10 years ago. But it just like the distance makes a difference as far as just how it comes across. Or it's just like, and there, I don't have a rational defense of this. It just really is just a matter of like how icky does it feel.
No, I actually am gonna point out something interesting that I saw not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody for the Jack the Ripper cases took pictures of the victims, drawings and stuff of the original victims, and what they did was they actually upgraded the faces and kind of like cleaned them up and everything, and actually had
Yeah.
them sort of moving with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was he did this so that the faces would be to humanize them, so that they're not just remembered as corpses,
Sure.
but that they're remembered as people. And I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are things that I would like hear about myself all the time. I'm like, this is so strange. Sorry about that. I just stumbled upon an old, lost archive of my internet history.
Oh.
The age of Tumblr.
Oh God, no. Nothing ever good comes out of that thing.
Doesn't it? Doesn't all good things come out of something? But yes.
Throw it back into the fire.
Well, that's kind of what they should have done with this kid, huh? Because he wound
Oh
up
my
going back into the fire in the end anyway.
Ironically enough, yeah, this movie would not exist if they killed Anthony when he was a baby. It's horrible to say, but yeah, the mother's approach to it is like, oh yeah, let's not talk about it, and let me just lie to my son where he's been. And you know what? And for what 33 years it worked. His his son didn't know he was a possible demigod conduit, and he was able to live a normal life of being a struggling artiste. And then one day he gets stung by a bee taking photos of a abandoned gentrified area, and thus his origin story as a superhero or villain, depending on who you talk to, starts to emerge. Funny enough, you see him train like it starts as a base thing that looks like it looked like a gunshot wound that was left infected, and that he should have really sought better medical attention. Then let's just wrap up his hand in bandages and send him on his way when he was clearly picking at the thing.
I'm gonna argue that that was pretty much like him being starting to get possessed by Candyman. That was the beginning of it. Just don't buy it, getting this checked out.
Yeah, yeah. Like he got it checked out, but it's like it was what a day later than he should have. It was kind of bad when he finally got that thing checked out, but like the fact that it somehow got worse and what it morphed into, it was wild physical representation of his possession of the Candyman by the Candyman spirit. And I loved it because it made him the typical he's an artist is going insane due to pressure, blah blah blah. But it's like, oh no, you just ignore the signs of him being consumed by a very vengeful spirit, to say the least. But hey, like funny enough, every time like there was a body on the news associated with Candyman, he would get so filled with glee that he was getting recognized as an artist. Which is I don't know how anyone of those at home would feel if you were in his shoes. Like, oh, I got recognized for being like a world class accountant, but anyone associated with me is showing up dead or in pieces or at best. uh, looking at the chat.
What RPG are you talking about, dude?
Hmm.
But no,
Yeah.
like I get where you're going with that, but I'm gonna like also just one more bit of tragedy with this character. He gets his hand cut off.
Oh yeah, because William wanted him to be a s- like he wanted him to like follow a template, like it was like he was reading a freaking manual. So he literally had cuts saws off his arm, or his hand, and then stick a hook into the stump and then tape it with some like with some tape that you would find at Home Depot of all things.
Luckily, you only need one hand to paint, and a hook works very well as a holder of a paint palette.
But wasn't that the good hand that he cut off though?
Yes.
You can learn with the other hand.
He's not ambidextrous. They would have mentioned that.
You can adapt.
But
You can adapt. Yeah.
you gotta admire Anthony's pain tolerance, and like maybe that's just the spirit being possessing him, or he just has that half B DNA kind having him to ignore the pain, but still crying
Mm.
with out of one eye.
The good eye.
Well, he was just tranquilized at that point.
Was he? No. Okay, tranquilizer will require you to be knocked out. He was just sitting there in a trance, just like, yep, this is happening. I'm
No,
going with
not
it.
necessarily. When you're tranquilized like that, sometimes you're awake and conscious. You're just not moving.
He was moving.
Oh,
he,
like that
he was moving.
the times when the anesthetic doesn't work.
Yeah, like if
Yeah, where it's like you're
you're up.
incapacitated, but you're still conscious and you can feel everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a word for that. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it. Like vegetative state, but you're not. That's not the right word. It's like similar to that
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
Like
that's a
you're,
different thing.
but
Hmm.
Yeah.
you're aware and you're awake for this whole thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, he was moving. He was muttering. He wasn't really talking, but he was muttering, and he was floating, flying, and murdering. So I'm just like, there's got to be a word for that. And possession feel like the best way to describe it at this given point in time. But yeah, oh yeah, we got to answer to your question, Pumpkin, in chat.
YIIK Roman. All right, I'm gonna look that one up eventually. If it's cheap online, I will play it on stream.
I never heard of that. I mean, I wasn't really big into RPGs that much, but I've never heard of that one.
No, but yes. So we're getting close to it. So I wanted to just ask you guys.
Hmm.
Ultimately, though, what sticks out to you from this film? Meanwhile, I'm going to engage just a viewer here. If it's bad, fine then. I will just do Sweet Home from Nintendo. You should be thankful to that one. It's the basis of Resident Evil. I have a Famicom. I can do the actual thing.
This is
That's
true.
right.
I've seen it in person.
That's right. I'm spoiled like that. Mm-hmm.
Brad, you still need time to think. If not, I can just go that way. You have more.
Oh, I mean, I was just gonna say that I really like how it hooks up with the previous movie. Like it's sort of a like it and how it's a surprise sequel. That's the thing that I love. That's the thing that I think I most love about it is that it was sort of advertised as a remake, or at least that was sort of the impression that one gets because it's just called Candyman. It's not called The Return of Candyman. It's not called
Candyman 2.
um, Kevin like Candyman Strikes Back. By the way, that would be a signal that it wasn't a serious horror movie. But
But
if it was
given
if it
a
was called
Star Wars title,
Exactly. Yeah. 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 If it, yeah. Um. Yeah, but it's a surprise sequel with a great surprise ending, a great hookup to the original. Um.
Let's
Yeah, and just sort of like combining observations with the previous film. Um. There's all these nice little references to sort of the classic suite of urban legends. Candyman himself is kind of a combination of Bloody Mary and the Hook Man. Um, I think it's on purpose that in in Anthony's mother's apartment, it's a she has she has a Doberman, which in that scene it looks like Helen killed the dog. But there's one of the classic urban legends is called the choking Doberman. Do you guys know that one?
no.
Mm-mm.
So the choking Doberman is about a woman who comes home and her Doberman is choking on something. He's coughing and coughing and coughing, and finally he coughs up a human finger, suggesting that there is someone in the house that the Doberman uh, uh, attacked, and all this time that she's been trying to figure out what the Doberman was choking on, this person has been in her house. So like if you look at like volumes of compiled urban legends, like some of the scholarship on it, I think that's one of the ones that you see, along with Hookman, Bloody Mary, uh,
Which one's Hookman?
Vanishing Hitchhiker. Oh, so the Hookman. So that story is there's a couple that drive out to a remote spot of town, boyfriend and girlfriend couple, and they hear a story on the radio that there's a murderous criminal on the loose in town who wears a hook for a hand, and after that they start hear a tapping on the side of the door, and the guy says, I'm going to go check it out. And the girl says, no, 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 stay in here. The guy says, no, 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 I'm going to go check it out. So she gets out of the car and the tapping continues. And for this whole time, she thinks it's been the the tapping of the hook from the man on side outside the car. She finally gets the courage uh, to get out of the car, and it turns out that it's the boyfriend hanging from the bridge above them, and it's his foot or it's his hand that that's a tapping on the side of the door because of the wind. Um, so yeah, that's the hook, man. But what I like about just how these movies are put together is that there's almost like these little Easter eggs for of references to different urban legends.
You know what's funny is I've heard variations on the Hookman,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are some variations.
and I actually think I heard where it comes from. So Hookman's weird. There is a real life scary shit attached to Hookman.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know. It's a chicken and the egg. It's a chicken and the egg situation. I don't know if Zodiac was inspired by Hookman or if Hookman was inspired by Zodiac.
The Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, can you
What's
just
the
look up the
connection?
timelines of those two? Like
Well,
what?
the thing
What?
is, in urban, these stories are like the ones they tell around the campfire.
Yeah, there's no like
There's no way to
publication
date
date.
it back.
Yeah,
It's tough. If there's
Hmm.
anything, it's because it's already been being told, and somebody decided to jot it down and publish it.
yeah.
So it's hard to tell, but like I've heard that Zodiac may have actually committed some of the murders inspired by that. But then I've also heard that one or two of the murders were caused the inspiration for the Hookman story, because I think the way it goes is somebody says that they were at some kind of lover's point in California, and then what happened was they heard the tapping, but they chose to leave. Right? Like it was that I think.
Smart. Very smart.
Yeah, so like they turned around and said, "Yeah, no, fuck this, we're out of here." But then they found like some kind of cloth or something attached to their trunk, and then they're like, "Whoa, oh, well, something might have been out there." And then like a week or so later, this other young couple was murdered, in the same spot that they were at gunpoint by one of the Zodiac's first victims. Like at least one of the ones where like he wrote the letter and everything. He's like, I'm the one who did this, and I was also responsible for this, that, and the other.
Right. Yeah.
And this is just so you know that it was me. And he leaves that like that first codex or whatever. That was apparently like right there, potentially inspired by one of those situations. So it's very weird, but yeah. Again, stuff that sounds fake.
Yeah.
But it's like that could happen.
Well, maybe they inspire each other. Maybe there's like a cross pollination thing that happens. Because the thing about urban legends is that they're living, they're alive, they keep changing.
Yeah, they start somewhere.
And it's like it's like we have folk tales and myths from old or extinct cultures. And those are static in time, but at one point they were alive, and we can kind of see how that sort of thing works now with the stories that we have today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like you just said, they are alive and that they have some kind of link. You know, some people are watching this film, are going to be watching this film in like the year 2054 or whatever. And they'll hear stories. Didn't this happen to some dude in Queens? He went into some weird apartment building in Jamaica with his friend for a podcast, and then they met the Candyman.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear you're looking for Candyman, bitch.
Yeah. I mean, urban legends, they're kind of, one way you could describe them is like worldwide rumors.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe not. Well. I mean, yeah.
It depends. It depends on the legend. Some can be like nationwide. Some can be worldwide. Some can just be local.
I mean, I'll give you guys a global urban legend. I'll give you two. They come from Latin America. La Llorona.
Yep.
And Chupacabra.
Chupacabra, yeah.
Both of those are urban legends.
Uh-huh.
Because people say they've seen some shit, but, no evidence has popped up, and everybody and their mother can tell you that Llorona story. For those of you who know it.
I've seen the movie of it.
That movie is on my list. I've never gotten to it.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Like, nobody's giving it like this.
Yeah.
Was must watch. Like,
I don't think anybody really loves it, but it's it's good. Yeah, it's worth watching. It's part of the Conjuring.
It's a part of the Conjuring verse
franchise. Yeah.
All right, so this is the part where I tell everyone that I haven't seen or heard of it.
Well, have you seen The Conjuring?
No.
Oh man.
I heard about The Conjuring, but I've never seen it.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I mean, that's one of the best. That's one of the best horror movies of the past. Like, I
actually think that kickstarted the current horror kick we're in right now. No.
It was sort of a. It was sort of a callback. It was really.
It felt like those 70s like ghost movies.
Yeah, it was kind of an old school style horror movie where it's like, let's just go back to haunted houses.
Yeah.
But it sort of had like the standard of scariness that you expect from an R-rated horror movie of today.
Yeah, like when I first saw it, I got the feel like maybe you might understand this one, Red. Remember going to the store, the video store back in the day, and you would see like these kind of like 70s ghost movies. They had like this very distinctive look to them and names. It was like Shadow in the House or Ghosts of Tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like they all had like these weird names. The Conjuring the Conjuring comes to mind because it was a name like that. And so much so they even did that like prologue intro to it with The Conjuring, where like they show you a history of Ed Warren, who turned out to be a fraudster. But they show you the intro to Ed Warren. They give you like an update of who he was, and you're like, "Oh, I'm in for some shit," because I didn't know about any of this. And again, that's another one of those films where it was handled tastefully. There was no insensitivity drawn on there. And the best part about it was Leonard Nimoy and Jennifer Aniston didn't ruin the experience.
Well, see, that was before you had entered into the bad graces of the ghost of Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before he
if only because I believe that is before he died.
Yes. I will put a correlation that those movies went downhill around the same time he passed away. I call
coincidence?
I think not.
I think not.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And what's your takeaway on this one, Bolt?
I guess my takeaway is that let's be mindful of legends, because it's like at a certain point, like the game of telephone, it can be misconstrued for people's own devices and agendas. So it's always best to kind of understand, just like any other piece of information, the root of it, all the facts, and from there you can use it for you can use it for good, or you can use it for evil. Either way, it's just a tool to kind of to be used accordingly.
So basically, mind yourself with the spreading of misinformation.
Yes, always and forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like that is a lesson that's never going to be going away anytime soon.
Yeah, every time you hear an urban legend, look at the context that X users have added.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so I've kind of brought it up here a few times, right? Like, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like, you want to really be careful with the narrative that you buy into, because some people will spin some to meet their own agendas. But it does kind of remind me of, like, when I was a kid, I would always hear these stories, and then you kind of buy them and believe them, and then it's, like, not true. So, before we got on, right, we were talking about that documentary, the popular one that's going around right now about the kids' dark side of TV, right? And a lot of people are trying to say that Dan Schneider was sort of like this godfather of Nickelodeon. Now I'm going to sit there and be like, no, it's not. And they're also, now a lot of people are using this documentary as like this sort of torch to say that Nickelodeon TV was never good TV for kids, to which I say, go fuck yourself. 90s Nick was good TV for us kids at the time. Like, we were...
because you never understood the jokes that they were saying.
They were funnier than toning in and listening to a fucking Native American lady sing about the colors of the wind. Red? Wait, where is Red?
I'm here.
What was funnier, Ren and Stimpy, or listening to some lady who's supposed to be 13? Yeah, Disney. Pocahontas is supposed to be 13, not 20 whatever.
Right. Well, I mean, Ren and Stimpy is supposed to be funny, but Pocahontas, the character, and the song "Colors of the Wind" are not supposed to be funny.
All right.
But as far as like I mean, what did I enjoy as a kid more? I enjoyed Ren and Stimpy more. So
Yeah, they were funnier.
yeah,
Well, here's the thing. Like you're preemptively attacking because they are because people are going after Nick as a whole. You're trying to protect the things that were separate from the whole situation that we're in now, which is animation. Because
Not even
as of this
just
recording,
animation, man. Like there were, for as of right now, right during this time, to my understanding, that fat fuck had nothing to do with The Adventures of Pete and Pete, right? I haven't heard Michael C. Morona come out or the other guy, Danny Tamborelli, come out and say anything. As a matter of fact, they
yet.
reprised their roles as Pete and Pete last year for a music video. I haven't,
Because he was ousted in 2018. So
yeah, but
18 and onward, like
yeah,
those things are all someone else's problem.
I
So if
also
anyone
haven't.
comes out now,
I
it's on
also
them.
no, it's people have
Danny
been coming
Temporelli,
out.
who was an All That cast member.
Yeah, Danny Tamborelli, I haven't heard come out just yet. But
Yeah,
these are
keep
things
He's
though
active
that
on social media, but yeah, I don't know.
yeah, like it's one of these things though. Like right now, they're now trying to turn around and say, "Hey, all of these things that you liked as kids, yeah, this stuff was never acceptable." To which
I
I'm
mean,
like,
there's some truth to that. Like having a kid stripped down to his underwear, covered in peanut butter, and having dogs licked while he's screaming, "I don't like this" on national TV.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
not acceptable.
well, and I mean, a lot of the like early Nicktoons did push the boundaries of taste, like Ren and Stimpy and Rocco's Modern Life. Those were like,
That's
there was
animation.
some
No
gross
one
out humor. There
danger.
was some pretty violent humor.
the thing is
Yeah, but
though,
that was
like
all animation.
yeah, but even then though, like they're trying to attack the animation now because once again,
Well,
there
that
was one guy in the animations realm who does turn out to have a lot of issues. But I'm actually
So
gonna go as far as to say this: that guy was a flash in the pan. He was only around for like a year, and then the show was
okay.
ran by other people once they ousted him from wherever he was at.
oh, you're talking about John K.
Yep, he was only there for like
Yep.
about a year, and then once that show was run, he created it. Bob Camp and Co took over from there, and it's like okay,
Mhm.
yeah, like there were other people that handled it, but they're trying this weave this narrative now that oh yeah no, none of this stuff was acceptable. Only thing that you need to find acceptable is counting the hairs on Captain America's ass because that's America's ass. That's acceptable for kids. But it's not acceptable for kids to see a bunch of guys talk about pissing on an electric fence. Actual
Right,
gag
right.
from Nick from
You don't wheels on the electric fence.
Yep.
I'm hoping it's this one of
And
those
I
rare
did.
situations where people just use the larger discourse to go after things that they don't like in front of their own
Yeah,
agendas.
yeah, yeah. That's
Because
that's a good point, Bolt.
yeah, but the thing is, we don't find out about those things until it's already too late. So it's
So they're focusing in on like trying to they're directing their ire at the work itself, not just some of the people behind it.
Bingo.
Yeah, because I mean that's a pretty I take a pretty strong view on there's the work and then there's the creator. Those are two completely different things.
yeah.
That's a
I mean,
Most of the
debate.
time, sometimes it is hard to separate someone from their work, but most of the time I feel like you can still appreciate something that was made by a very imperfect person.
yeah, because if we're counting hairs here, Dan Schneider is only guilty of being a misogynistic asshole in the writers' room. That's the only thing this documentary has brought to light.
Right.
Other than that, and questionable jokes involving young female cast members
Hmm.
and exploiting them for their likeness, and using them as a tool or a scapegoat to perform, to get away with telling sexual jokes or innuendos.
So
Other than that,
so stuff that happened behind the scenes that was uncool was reflected in how the work turned out.
not even behind the scenes, like the whole that that clip of Ariana Grande squeezing a potato is that's been on the internet for years. And other stuff on
Yeah,
Victorious,
but that's the thing
basically.
though. Like
I'll have to watch the documentary.
that
Yeah,
begins
Yeah.
I'm not
though
familiar with what you're
after
talking about.
that begins though when this fucking fatso takes over after all of the other stuff is gone. Like
Oh,
when he's in there, right? It's now when you're hearing, "Hi everybody, today on Teen Nick," and it's like, oh god, here we go. These fucking sitcoms with these fucking kids that are not like real teenagers at all. None of them were like real teenagers at all. None of them were like it was just a knockoff. I'm repeating myself. It was a fucking knockoff of the Disney Channel. It was like Hannah Montana exploitation that this guy was fucking making, and now everybody's sitting there and saying this was the best years, and this guy was a juggernaut. Nah, fuck you. This guy was not a juggernaut.
He just made the money. That's it.
Yeah, he just made the money because he was exploiting something. How do I feel about Bill Cosby in there? Pill
Well,
Cosby,
this
that's a good
question for
one.
Red.
yeah,
It's the question for
yeah,
Red.
yeah. At first, I thought it was something about red pilling. No,
I mean, you're half right.
so,
You're half right.
so, the Cosby Show, just a viewer, is the exception. I think one of the exceptions that I would cite because, and I've heard this point made before, so it's not original to me, but I agree with it. Is that the Cosby Show is very much about the values that Bill Cosby was publicly endorsing. You know, family values, that kind of wholesomeness. Um, you know, like being America's dad. It was very much wrapped up in his brand and his image. I feel like watching the Cosby Show, you weren't just admiring Bill Cosby's work, but you got a sense like this is actually who he is, and you started to admire him. But given what we know about what he was up to off camera, and just like all the terrible things that went down, you can't watch the Cosby Show in the same way. And maybe like I still remember some scenes from it that make me laugh, and maybe you could still defend it as like a good piece of work, but I just feel like I just feel like I can't watch it anymore because it's just like yeah, it's just too much wrapped up in this what turned out to be a lie that Bill Cosby was a good guy.
Yeah, he had us all, man. We were
I've never
all
seen that show growing up, so
You never saw the Cosby Show?
nope.
Yeah.
We used to have a game. Stop when he says I've seen it.
You're gonna keep going until eternity if you don't have the right mind track or cheat sheet.
So I was fortunately able to win that one a few rounds, but it was
You
a
lost a
very
lot.
yeah,
You
I
lost
did
a
wait a
lot.
while. It did take a while till we would hit there. We're like, all right, we just have to keep going. Like who won this one today?
I had to help you.
Yeah, there were times we had to like drop hints. I'm like, okay, and then because I have like extensive obscure movie knowledge, I was able to kind of get a few in there.
Mhm.
Whereas the rest of our friend group does not have the kind of extensive weird movie knowledge that I have. That was pretty funny.
Still is. Anyone out there? You can get it on this game. And trust you, you are going to lose. Even you, just a viewer. Even you.
But yes. So no, Bill Cosby had us all fooled though, man. Like it was one of those where it's like you would never think, and he's always like being quipped in shows too. Like remember he was in that Simpsons episode, Cosby's logic of parenthood. He's like reverse psychology, and you're like, oof,
Yeah.
that did not age well now.
Yeah.
especially after the fact.
Yeah, it's sort of like a chunk of American culture was taken away from us with the truth about Bill Cosby. It's really kind of devastating
Yeah, it was.
because you just can't enjoy it the way you did before.
You do you think it was a similar effect to when the whole thing with Michael Jackson broke out, or like similar art, like music artists?
Um, Not quite the same thing because the mu because again the image and the values that Bill Cosby wanted to be associated with were in that show. Like that show was part of um the what was that show presented an image of not just the character Cliff Huxtable, but uh Bill Cosby as a great guy and a role model, and that just turned out not to be the case at all. Whereas Michael Jackson's music really doesn't have much to do with Michael Jackson the person. So I feel like I feel like that's a good example of where you can separate the artist from the art. The Michael Jackson example, whereas the Cosby example is one where you really can't.
Yeah. On top of that, like, there's always a lot of doubt with the Michael Jackson one, whereas with
That's
this one,
another
like,
thing. Yeah,
this one has been pretty much confirmed, you know?
yeah. The Bill Cosby one is just pretty undeniable. Like like how many women have come forward over that, and it's just like very. And also, like he did admit in court at one point to using quaaludes on people. So, but yeah, the Michael Jackson thing is a bit more ambiguous. He's also not alive to defend himself anymore, so that's part of it too. And then there's the piece that I mentioned before that, that there's really, I don't know, you don't get a sense that Michael Jackson is trying to tell you who he is in his music or what you should be with his music. You don't get the sense that he's trying to be a role model where it's just it 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 it's just pop music and that's the end of it.
Yeah, he's
But
a
the Cosby
generic.
Show really was really trying to promote values that Cosby himself did not emulate.
Yeah, like Cosby really tried to kind of ingratiate himself as like that dad or uncle, you know? Like,
America's Dad.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was America's dad. He was like that father figure that you could kind of look up to, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like, even like I somebody said this to me once, or like it was weird, right? We were kind of like in the era of even if you had a dad, you still looked at certain dads on TV and you're like, you know what? Let me borrow stuff from that dad, right?
Yeah.
And Bill
Father
Cosby was definitely like one of those dads who was like very. He spoke to his kids the way like you would actually hear a dad speak on that show.
Yeah.
Like you remember the one where he's trying to teach Theo about money, and then he's like, "All right, let's say you have $10," and he's going through like this whole thing. He's like, "If you're just a regular person, this costs you this much," and he keeps taking money away from him. And the kid's like, "Actually, you better donate a little bit more into that clothes fund. I want to look fly." He's like, "All right." Then after all your bills, that's what you got. He's like, "I had nothing." Yeah, that's right, regular people. And he points at his empty hands. Got nothing. I'm like, huh, that does sound like a conversation, like I would have heard my friends have or my cousins have around me when I was younger. And Bill Cosby was all about that. Michael Jackson was, I am a superfluous weirdo, and I hang out with monkeys. Now listen to me sing about grabbing my dick for a few minutes. Like that's what it was, right? Like in this song I'm a zombie, in this song I'm a ghost, in this song I am an Egyptian prince, in this song I'm a gangster. Like it's not like he was literally, if there's any bit of himself that dude was projecting into that music, was the fact that he liked to pretend and do imaginative shit all day long, and
Dance.
every music video was just him playing that character. That's it. He was just not even like cosplaying. I mean, like he was just pretending to be that person and disassociating and having one just giant play session, you know?
Sure.
But Bill Cosby was not that at all. Bill Cosby
Mhm.
was like, he was trying his best to be your dad. That's what he was trying to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's often in different eras, a prominent male cultural figure that a lot of fans see as like a second father, or maybe the father they never had.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at just a viewer's attempt at a joke.
What? What?
No, but it's true. Like some people, especially our generation, I remember growing up, like half of my friends' parents were divorced. And it's like, yeah, the TV raised a lot of us. Like, it's not, it sounds depressing, but at least, back in the day, like, you could have that one sitcom dad that you could look up to a little bit. In my case, mine was Uncle Phil until that recent reboot ruined him. Because fuck reboots. Making Uncle Phil a gangster.
Look, we're just gonna pretend it doesn't exist, along with a lot of other things that came out past 2015. Probably even earlier than that, but 2015.
Look, I've been trying to pretend that this certain person's career hasn't existed since 1994, but it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back, and you have some idiot remind you that it's a thing. So we devote a whole episode to me getting over it, and I'm still not over it.
Look, okay, now you have to take a page out of Anthony's mother's book and just don't talk about it. Just agree, never talk about it. Take away the power from it and swear everyone to secrecy, even if it means killing them.
All right.
And just make sure there's no laundromat guy to undermine you.
Yeah, there is. Just the viewers, the laundromat guy.
No. He won't be the guy that will bring it up. He's good on that. He could be bribed anyway if he's not.
Sinner's laundromat guy. They did drop the name.
We can have a conversation.
They did drop the name earlier in the episode of
because you go to them too. No, that was a different problem.
Talentless wench that doesn't deserve a career was. I was there.
Wait, Rip Shredder? Who?
Uncle Phil was the voice of Shredder in the 80s, you fucking robot. Right, you're a bolt. You're an electric fucking robot from the planet Mars who has no idea of all the things we grew up with.
It's on brand.
Yeah, it's on brand, all right. Shit. See, me and Red Herring over here come from planet Earth. We're one with nature and our surroundings. You're like some fucking robot that was dropped off here, thrown off of the spaceship. Like, oh, you don't watch anything we watch neither. They threw you right off of the goddamn boat. Jesus.
Wonder if they'll come back for me.
No, they're not.
Yeah, you're right.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
You're stuck here with us, talking with a fish and a rotted pumpkin. Right, Red?
That's us.
Yep.
Sounds like my American Dad.
Damn straight. Good morning, USA.
All right, and with that, I think that's your.
I'm a fan of Roger, actually.
I love Roger.
Homicidal alien? Wouldn't that be me?
No, you're Klaus.
Not homicidal.
Oh, you just said that Red was the fish.
No, you're Klaus.
Red's icon is literally a fish in a bowl.
Fine.
Hey, there's no bowl. Have you looked at the full cartoon?
See, no bowl. He's like that
You should look at the
talking
full
Nickelodeon ad where the fish is talking out of the sardine can. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
See?
Well, and there's Billy Bass.
Yep. See.
I'm merely honoring a long tradition of talking fish that may or may not be alive.
See. By the way,
Here.
did anybody ever punch a Billy Bass?
Bolt, I'm sending you the full cartoon. Did anyone punch a Billy Bass?
Yeah.
At home or in the store?
In general.
In general?
As your lawyer, I
Look, man,
for answering
I
that question.
punched one at a KB's Toys. They're fucking closed. I want to see
Okay.
who's gonna come after me for that one.
Look, okay. I'm gonna go on the record and say I have never committed pesticide.
Pesticide.
I have. I went fishing. See, somebody did
Oh,
punch his
wait.
fucking.
No,
See,
I have gone
see?
fishing many times, actually. Never mind.
Oh
Just
my
the viewer
God.
punched the Billy Bass. 'Cause those things were fucking annoying. They were funny the first 2 times you see one, right? But then you have that like
Yeah.
drunk uncle that's carrying one around, and he'll come
Well,
and be
and
like, "Hey
the
kids,"
fact
and push the button.
they all sang the same song. They need to sing different. There's lots of water songs. There's not just "Take me to the river," "Drop me in the water."
No, the
It
one
could
like
sing like it could sing "Rolling on the River." It could sing "Under the Sea." There's all sorts of water songs, man.
there was one that my uncle had that used to sing a bunch of different songs. You just push the button, it would play a different song. So this one
Hmm
sang, "And now you're back from outer space," something like that. And I heard it sing that, and I'm just like, "Oh my god!" And then he pushed the button again and sang a different song. So
But
one day
if
he,
you could, if they made ones today that you could like sync with your Spotify playlists, I would be into that.
you need to shout "patent pending," like right now. Just shout "patent pending." Shout it.
Patent pending,
Yeah.
patent pending, patent pending.
Yep. There we go.
Hold on, that's $2 million ideas on one podcast.
And you lost them both. Congratulations.
The
No worries.
Spotify synced Billy Bass and the hook shaped oven mitts.
Don't worry. We have a guy who's going to kind of to put in some dirty work for us over at the OTV house.
No,
So
no,
we just have, if anybody steals your patents, we'll just have him put in some dirty work over that way.
no,
That's just the way that it's gonna go down. Cause fuck Michael Reeves, I'm jealous. So
Goodness. It's good. We need to cut that part out at some point.
no, we're not, cause that's true. If he comes at me and be like, "So you're jealous?" I'm like, "Yeah, fuck right, of course I am. Fuck you. I'm literally drinking the haterade. Go do a victory lap, bitch." Your
This is why I
skinny
keep it
fucking
clear.
legs and your nasty fucking face.
Oh my goodness. And on that note, another
On
sponsor
that
right
lovely
to us.
note.
And on that lovely note, if you say Michael Reeves into the mirror 6 times, he'll pop up in front of you. But don't worry, he's stringy and very, very unfit. You can probably kill him in 5 seconds, so it's nothing to be afraid of. Cause fuck that guy.
We at the Ghastly Hollows do not condone the rhetoric being uttered by Pumpkin Jack.
We
Hook
at
hands
the
plus
Ghastly
Billy
Hollows
Bass,
do
then
not
maybe-
endorse the things that we say.
Actually, let me correct them. Bolt and Red do not
correct.
endorse any of the things that I, Punk, and Jack have to say. But I, Punk, and Jack do 100% endorse the following: vandalism to Jennifer Aniston's property, vandalism towards Jamie Lee Curtis's property,
This way.
and vandalism all the way towards Michael Reeves' house. That's 3 different coastlines. If possible, y'all may be able to hit them. And on that note, there is my playout music. I haven't done this in about 3 weeks, fucking Leonard Nimoy. I'm just gonna hit whatever I find here. There we go. This was the Ghastly Hallows Candyman edition. Finally, we are out of the woods with the Candyman, out of the Cabrini Green. I was accompanied today by...
Lamenting Bolt.
Going back to Leprechaun. Jolly old Red.
Oh,
Poor taste. It's important.
boy. You know what?
Touch and very poor taste. Touch and poor taste.
A friend with weed is a friend indeed.